again, in the last tutorial, I did the Lua, a little bit of some really basic scripting with it. In this one, I'm going to be showing you the same thing but done in C++. It's a bit different. The project setup, obviously, being the major difference. When you're doing it, when you're doing Polycode graphics and whatnot, creating whatever it is that you're creating with Polycode in C++, you need to include everything. So in your projects, your directories, this is something people always have a problem with. So this is all of my directories that I'm bringing in. Solution directory. So if I go into my solution in here, it'll go into framework. I have 3 different paths for the core, which has the include, which is everything from Polycode core, the dependencies, the include for that, the Polycode view, obviously, which is needed. Each platform has its own Polycode view. Right now, it only needs Windows because I'm only doing it for Windows. If you're doing it for Linux, then you need to have Linux Polycode view. And if you're doing it for Mac, then for Mac as well. It depends on what platform you're working on. So this is my structure of my project. I'll be putting all of my C++ code inside of the include, which are going to be my header files, and my source, which will be my CPPs. Inside of build, I have the Windows build, and if I were to make Linux, I would have a different folder for Linux, a different folder for Mac, Android, so forth. So now that that is out of the way and explained, yeah, actually I forgot how to show you libraries as well, which you do need to bring these in or else it won't build. You'll get these linker errors, really annoying, which it's in the same place. Instead of going into, the includes and whatnot, it's the .libs. So I think that is it. Let me make sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. So when programming in C++, you need to create the main loop. Each platform, like Mac, Linux, and Windows, has their own loop. So this is the way you do it with Windows. Like I said, each one has their own. So the first thing we gotta do is bring in Polycode. So we're gonna go ahead and include Polycode.h. We're also gonna need the view. Polycode view. And for Windows, you do need to bring in the Windows.h. Oh, this is when you create a new project, you go in here, create a new project. It is not a console application. It is a Win32 project. Make sure you get that right. So let's go ahead and create our main method function. So API entry win win main. Yeah, that's what it is. Win main. And then in here, we're gonna have our H instance. There it is. This is our first one. H instance. Then we're gonna have our second one. This is our previous. And then we're gonna need LPSTR. Yep, right there. This will be LP command line. And the last one's an int n command show. Okay, save that. Now we need to create an instance of our Polycode view. So the window. That's what Polycode view is. It's the window. So go ahead and call Polycode view, which is down here. Let's go ahead and name it view. New Polycode view. This is going to need 3 parameters. It's going to need the instance, H instance, right there. The N command show, and the title of the window. So in Windows, you do a big capital L, and then you put a string after it. I'm gonna call this Polycode app. Okay. Now I'm gonna create a class which actually should I create the class first? No. Let's do this main function first. So this is gonna give out an error, but it's fine. We'll create the actual class in a little bit. So we got the Polycode app is what I'm gonna name the class, and this class is gonna have the view passed into it. So after you create your instance, your main app, from like creating the scene and stuff like that, you need to loop this. So I'm gonna create a do while. So the while will be our app. It'll point to an update method that it will have. This update method will have will return from the core update and render. You see that once I create that Polycode app class. So pretty much when you click on an X on the window, it won't update and render anymore. So this will bring back false and it'll close the program. So inside of this do while, what we're going to have is a while. So this is all the messages of the window. So it's going to be a peak message. And inside of that peak message, oh, I forgot. You need to create a message variable right there. Okay. Now, we're going to pass that by reference. Message. This is going to take nothing in there. No. And nothing in there. Nothing in there. And PM remove. There you go. Now inside of this while, what we're going to have is the translate. Translate message. Where are you? Translate message. There you are. Okay. Now we're going to pass by reference the message that is being sent out. Message. Okay. And we're going to dispatch that message. Dispatch message. We're going to pass by reference again. And that's it. That's all you need for that main loop to continue the app going. At the end, we're going to go ahead and return the message dot w param. Save that. What's wrong with this? Expected a, oh, right. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and create this Polycode app class, which I will go ahead and include in here so I don't forget it. So call Polycode app.h. Okay. Now in the header, let's go ahead and create the header class. New and header file. That is not the directory I want you in. Let's go back, include. There you go. Now, Polycode app. Add that. Okay. Now in here, we're gonna go ahead and include. Oops. And include Polycode. Polycode.h. And the Polycode view as well. Polycode view dot h. And that's about it. So class Polycode app. This is going, is that it? Yeah. Let's go ahead and do the public and our private. Now inside of private, we're gonna have a variable, which is the core. So let's go ahead and do, oops, Polycode. Where are you? Core. There you are. Core. Let's call that variable core. We will need a scene variable as well. So Polycode scene. Let's just call the variable scene as well. And what else? A scene instance, actually, as well. So Polycode, whoops, that messed that up. go ahead and do scene entity instance. I'm gonna call it the ninja, since that's what's inside of it. It's a little graphic of a ninja. And inside of the publics, obviously you need the constructor. You need the deconstructor. And there's gonna be a method called update, which is a Boolean. And that will be all of it. So that's all our header is gonna have. Now let's go ahead and create the CPP of this. Let's go ahead, CPP. Let's go ahead and change that to the source and call it Polycode App. Add that. Go ahead and include the header Polycode app.h. Go ahead and put the using namespace right here. Polycode. And go ahead and create the constructor. Polycode app. Polycode app. Let me go ahead and make the rest of them. This will be the deconstructor. Polycode app. And the last one, which is our Boolean Polycode app update. And this will return something which is not yet defined, which is our core. So let's go ahead and, what's the error here? What's going on? Oh, okay. Now it's another error, expected an identifier. What? Expected an identifier. What do you mean by that? I don't think I understand that. Okay, I see it. It's the Polycode app. Gotta make sure you name it right. Okay. So now I forgot to have a parameter for my class. So in here, I'm gonna put Polycode view, and it will take a copy of that in here. Let's go ahead and put, Polycode view with the variable view. Okay, now we're gonna instance our Polycode core, which is right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say core equals new Polycode core. There it is. Now this is gonna need I think it was size first, so 680. Oh, no, wait a minute. Not size first. Never mind. the view comes in first, which is the window. Now the size. So 680 by 480. This will be false. VSync. Sure, why not? AA. Let's just say 0 on that. 0 on that one as well. Let me put in the 0 first. And what was this one? Frame rate, which will be 60. And I think that's all it needs. Everything else is by default. So now that we have our core, the core is going to need some default shaders and other things that the application needs, that Polycode needs, which will be in the resource manager of the core, which will be in the core services class, stuff like that. You know what? Here, I'll show you what's in it. So this is the where is it? Core assets. That's not it. Let me go into Polycode assets default. So these are the pack that need to go into the resources into the resource manager actually. So what's inside of it are a few fragment shaders and a few vertex shaders, stuff like that. Default things that every game engine has. So you need to add these resources once you create the core for your application for Windows, Linux, Mac, etc. So the way you do that is saying core services, get that class, and you say get instance, point to the get resource manager, and then you point to the add resource. No, I think it's add archive first. Yes, add archive first. Okay. So now if I look at my directory here real quick, I will see that I have the default pack right here. So I just have to say default pack. If you have it inside of another folder, then obviously you have to call that folder, and inside of that, wherever the directory is. Mine is right there with the project, so I don't have to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say default.pack. Okay. So now after you do this, you need to do it again, but not add archive. You have to do add directory resources. So we're gonna call this class again, core service. Where are you? There you are. Get instance. Point to the get resource manager. And instead of add archive, we're going to go ahead and do add dir resources. Okay, so that's default. And the next parameter is recursive, which is set by default to true. But I'm going to put true in there just in case. Okay. Now, this should build. Hold on. So after you've done that, that's pretty much all that Polycode needs to run. So down here in the update, you're gonna need to, from the core, you're gonna need to call the update and render. That updates everything, all the entities inside of your scene, and it renders it out all in one convenient method. So once that's done, let me save this file as well. Make sure everything is without error, and doesn't seem like it. Let's go ahead and build this. There you go. So that's all you need to do to get a window up. So that's pretty uneventful. All you did was just get a window up. So let's go ahead and instance a scene. In order to do that, you need another variable, which is the scene, which I already have. So let's go ahead over here into the constructor. Scene equals new scene, and inside of that, we're gonna have scene 2D. Okay. So now that we have our scene, if you remember correctly, we needed to set the camera in our in the Lua scripting part that I did last. We needed to set the camera to the same size as our window, or else it's gonna look all messed up, all weird. So the way you do that is calling scene, right? And you say get active camera. Once you get the active camera, you can set the ortho size. Now, in here, you're going to put the X and the Y that your window is. So mine is 680 by 480. Now that you've done that, now we need to instance our scene entity that we did in the IDE. And I already have that variable ready to go, scene instance entity. So I'm going to call that ninja variable, and it'll be new scene entity instance. Now in here, I need to call the parent where I'm going to attach this scene, this entity actually. So once I've done that, now I need to tell it where the file is. So if I take a look at my directory down here, it should be in assets, entity, and there it is, ninja.entity. So now I'm going to go ahead and put a string in here, assets, entity, oops, and it'll be ninja.entity. Oops, okay. So now that I've created that scene entity instance, now I need to add this to the scene. So I'm going to say scene, add child, and it's the ninja. So that way we'll be able to see the ninja when he pops up. Another thing down here in the deconstructor, let's go ahead and delete the core. That way we don't leave anything, allocated in the memory. Let's go ahead and run that. Let's make sure it works. And there he is. Our little ninja. So that's how you go ahead and create the window right here. And you add the default shaders and all these other things that Polycode needs. And how you create a scene and how you add a scene entity that you've made in the IDE of Polycode with C++. If you've noticed, this looks kind of familiar to Lua. So if you are not very experienced in C++, you can go ahead and start out with Lua. And as you get better with Polycode API, you can go ahead and also learn some C++ and just do these little differences that you need to do in C++. That's it for this little basic C++ Polycode app. I'll be making some more, obviously more advanced application than this. This is just some really basic stuff so you guys can see. And yeah, stay tuned for next time.